nostalgic for me because I always used to read these books or make my mum read them to me when I was a kid. Oh, my dog is here also, so if you do see her in the corner, she's just lying down, waiting to be walked, which I'm going to do after filming this video. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm just going to do some tapping for you first. Old Bear. Stories. The drawings in this are really beautiful as well. Okay, let's just go for the first one. Oh my god, look. This is my handwriting from when I was a kid. So that's my name, Neve, but I've written, oh sorry, the mic keeps getting stuck in my hair. I've written the A as a B because I drew it backwards, I guess. So the first story is called Old Bear. Old Bear. Old Bear. Okay. It wasn't anybody's birthday, but Bramwell Brown had a feeling that today was going to be a special day. He was sitting thoughtfully on the windowsill with his friends Duck, Rabbit and Little Bear when he suddenly remembered that someone wasn't there who should be. A very long time ago, he had seen his good friend Old Bear being packed away in a box. Then he was taken up a ladder, through a trapdoor, and into the attic. The children were being too rough with him, and he needed somewhere safe to go for a while. Has he been forgotten, do you think? Bramwell asked his friends. I think he might have been, said Rabbit. Well, said Little Bear, isn't it time he came back down with us? The children are older now, and would look after him properly. Let's go and get him. What a marvellous idea, said Bramwell. But how can we rescue him? It's a long way up to the attic, and we haven't got a ladder. We could build a tower of bricks, suggested Little Bear. Rabbit collected all the bricks, and the others set about building the tower. It grew very tall, and Little Bear was just putting on the last brick when the tower began to wobble. Look out, he cried, as the whole thing came tumbling down. Never mind, said Bramwell, helping Little Bear to his feet. We'll just have to think of something else. Let's try making ourselves into a tower, said Duck. Good idea, said Bramwell. Little Bear climbed on top of Rabbit's head, and Rabbit hopped onto Duck's beak. They stretched up as far as they could, but then Duck opened his beak to say something. Rabbit wobbled, and they all collapsed on top of Bramwell. Sorry, said Duck. Perhaps that wasn't a very good idea. Not one of your best, replied Bramwell from somewhere underneath the heap. I know, said Rabbit. Let's try bouncing on the bed. Just you to think of that, said Bramwell. You can never resist a bit of bouncing, especially when it's not allowed. Rabbit climbed onto the bed and began to bounce up and down. The others joined him. They bounced higher and higher, but still they couldn't reach the trapdoor in the ceiling. Duck began to cry. Oh dear, he sobbed. What are we going to do now? We'll never be able to rescue Old Bear, and he'll be stuck up there getting lonelier and lonelier forever and ever. We mustn't give up, said Bramwell firmly. Come on, Little Bear, you're good at ideas. But Little Bear had already noticed the plant in the corner of the room. I've got it, he cried. I could climb up this plant, swing from the leaves, kick the trapdoor open and jump in. In case it wobbled, Bramwell, Brown and Duck steadied the pot. Little Bear bravely climbed up the plant until he reached the very top leaf. He took hold of it and started to swing to and fro, but he swung so hard that the leaf broke and he went crashing down. Luckily, Bramwell Brown was right underneath to catch him in his paws. That was a rotten idea, said Little Bear. What I was thinking, said Duck, was that it is a pity I can't fly very well, as I could have been quite a help. Ah, said Bramwell, that, my dear Duck, has given me a very good idea. I really think this one might work. In the corner of the playroom was a little wooden aeroplane with a propeller that went round and round. We could use this plane to get to the trapdoor, said Bramwell. Rather dangerous, I know, but quite honestly I can't bear to think of Old Bear up there alone for another minute longer. I'll be pilot, said Rabbit, hopping up and down, making aeroplane noises, and I'll stand on the back and push the trapdoor open with my paintbrush, said Little Bear. But how will you get down? Asked Duck. I've already thought of that, said Bramwell, who hadn't really, but quickly did. They can use these handkerchiefs as parachutes, and we'll catch them in a blanket. Bramwell gave Little Bear 2 big handkerchiefs and a torch, so he could see into the attic. Then he began to wind up the propeller of the plane. Rabbit and Little Bear climbed aboard, and Bramwell began the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. They were off. The plane whizzed along the carpet and flew up into the air. The little plane flew beautifully, and the first time they passed the trapdoor, Little Bear was able to push the lid open with his paintbrush. Then Rabbit circled the plane again, this time very close to the hole. Little Bear grabbed the edge, and with a mighty heave he pulled himself inside. He got out his torch and looked around. The attic was very dark and quiet, full of boxes, old clothes, and dust. He couldn't see Old Bear at all. Any bears in here? He whispered, and stood still to listen. From somewhere quite near he heard a muffled grrr, followed by, did somebody say something? Little Bear moved a few things aside, and there, propped up against a cardboard box and covered in dust, was Old Bear. There he is. He's been there for so long. Little Bear jumped up and down with excitement. Old Bear, I found Old Bear, he shouted. So you have, said Old Bear. Have you been lonely? Asked Little Bear. Quite lonely, said Old Bear, but I've been asleep a lot of the time. Well, said Little Bear kindly, would you like to come back to the playroom with us now? That would be lovely, replied Old Bear, but how will we get down? Don't worry about that, said Little Bear. Bramwell has thought of everything. He's given us these handkerchiefs to use as parachutes. Good old Bramwell, said the old teddy. I'm glad he didn't forget me. Old Bear stood up and shook the dust out of his fur, and Little Bear helped him into his parachute. They went over to the hole in the ceiling. Ready? Shouted Rabbit. Steady, shouted Duck. Go, shouted Bramwell Brown. The 2 bears leapt bravely from the hole in the ceiling. Their handkerchief parachutes opened out and they floated gently down, landing safely in the blanket. Welcome home, Old Bear, said Bramwell Brown, patting his friend on the back. The others patted him too, just to make him feel at home. It's nice to have you back, they said. It's nice to be back, replied Old Bear. And there they are, the whole gang together again. That night, when all the animals were tucked up in bed, Bramwell thought about the day's adventures and looked at the others. Rabbit was dreaming exciting dreams about bouncing as high as an aeroplane. Duck was dreaming that he could really fly and was rescuing bears from all sorts of high places. Little Bear was dreaming of all the interesting things he had seen in the attic, and Old Bear was dreaming about the good times he would have now he was back with his friends. I knew it was going to be a special day, said Bramwell Brown to himself. The next story is called Little Bear's Trousers. When I was a kid, this was my favourite story. I used to make my mum read it to me all the time, so hopefully you'll enjoy it too. The sun shone through the window and woke Little Bear. What a lovely morning, he said to himself. I'll do something different today. He jumped down from the bed, took off his pyjamas, and looked for his trousers. He looked on the chair where he'd left them, and he looked on the floor under the chair, and then he looked through the chest of drawers in case they were in there. But they weren't. They were nowhere. They must be somewhere, said Little Bear. Trousers don't just disappear. I'll go and ask Old Bear. He'll know where they are. Old Bear was already enjoying the sun in his deck chair. I haven't seen your trousers, I'm afraid, but Camel was around here earlier. Perhaps she knows where they are. Oh dear, said Camel, when Little Bear found her a few minutes later. I did find them. I thought they were a pair of hump warmers, and I tried them on to see if they fitted me. They did keep my humps quite warm, but the air came down the top, so I decided these were better. And she showed Little Bear two very smart bubble hats, one for each hump. I gave the old hump warmers to Sailor to use as sails for his boat. Jump on my back and let's see if we can find him. Little Bear scrambled up and they galloped off in the direction of the bathroom. There's Camel trying on Bear's trousers, and there's her with her little bubble hats on. They've gone to the bathroom. Sailor was looking after the boats and ducks in the bathroom. I did use them as sails, he said, but they look too much like trousers. That's because they are trousers, said Little Bear crossly. Where are they now? I gave them the dog to keep his bones in, said Sailor. Sorry, Little Bear. We'd better hurry. He might be anywhere by now. Dog was happily burying his bones in flower pots when Little Bear found him. My bones kept falling through the two-bone bone holder, he said. Two-bone bone holder? Cried Little Bear in dismay. Oh, Dog, can't you recognise trousers when you see them? Oh dear, said Dog. I do feel silly. I gave them to Rabbit. He said he needed a skiing hat, and your trousers looked just perfect. I am sorry. There's Dog. Whee! Cried Rabbit as he shot past Little Bear a few minutes later, skiing down the banister on two lolly stick skis. He didn't have Little Bear's trousers on his head now. But I did have them earlier, he explained when Little Bear caught up with him. They made a lovely rabbit hat, with plenty of room for my ears, but they slipped over my eyes and I crashed, so I decided it was safer without them. I gave them to Zebra to carry her building bricks in. Zebra was building herself a house when Little Bear arrived, but his trousers were nowhere to be seen. I wondered whose they were, she said. They were terribly useful. I tied up the legs with string and put them on my back and carried all these bricks here in them. But when I had enough bricks for my house, I gave them to Duck to use as a flag for his sand castle. I am sorry, Little Bear. I didn't know they belonged to you. Duck was in the sand tray looking sadly at the castle he made. There was no trouser flag on the top now. I did use the flag that Zebra gave me, he sighed, but Bramwell Brown came and said it was just what he needed, urgently in the kitchen. He gave me this paper flag to use instead. Never mind, said Little Bear with a sigh, feeling quite glad that his trousers were not covered in sand. The kitchen was in a terrible muddle. There were bowls and spoons and eggs and flour, and in the middle of it all sat Bramwell Brown. He had Little Bear's trousers, but oh dear, He'd filled them with pink icing and was busy decorating a huge cake with them. "It's a special occasion cake," said Bramwell, "and you have to put the icing on special occasion cakes. I thought I could do 2 stripes at once with these icing bags. But they're not icing bags, they are my trousers," sniffed Little Bear, trying hard not to cry. "I thought I'd seen them before," said Bramwell Brown. "Don't worry, Little Bear," said Old Bear, who always arrived at the right moment. "The icing will wash out and they will look as good as new." "What's the special occasion cake for?" asked Little Bear, feeling a bit more cheerful at this news. "Well, I didn't really know," said Bramwell. "I just felt like making one." Old Bear thought hard. "Perhaps it ought to be a Trousers Day cake," he suggested helpfully. So that's what Bramwell Brown wrote on the cake, twice. Once with one icing from the left trouser leg, and once with the icing from the right trouser leg. It said Happy Trousers Day in the middle, and there was a trousers pattern all around the edge. Duck washed Little Bear's trousers and dried them next to the cooker. Then all the toys sat down to enjoy a piece of cake and to celebrate the day Little Bear lost and found his trousers. That's their cake. And ever since Trousers Day, Little Bear has slept with his trousers under his pillow. "Nobody will find them there," he says. Okay, we're going to do one more story. It's called Little Bear Lost. Old Bear had been busy all morning. He'd packed an enormous picnic for all the toys. There were sandwiches, cakes, buns, pies, and jellies. "I think I've put a bit too much food in," he said to himself as he sat on the picnic basket lid to try to make it close. Suddenly, in a blur of fur and red trousers, Little Bear dashed past the basket and dived into a heap of books. "Do you think anyone will find me?" he asked from the middle of the heap. "I shouldn't think so," said Old Bear. "Who's looking for you?" But before Little Bear could answer, the door flew open and into the room ran Bramwell Brown, Duck and Rabbit. They didn't seem to be looking for Little Bear, and in a moment they were hiding too. Rabbit and Duck were behind the curtains, and Bramwell's feet could just be seen sticking out from under a cushion. "We're playing hide and seek," explained the cushion in a Bramwell Brown sort of voice. "Did anyone see us hide?" "Only me," said Old Bear. "But who's looking for you?" There was a bit of a silence, and then the cushion moved. Bramwell looked sadly up at Old Bear. "Oh dear," he said miserably. "We've done it again. We've forgotten to have a seeker in our game of hide and seek." The others crept out of their hiding places and sat down on Bramwell's cushion. "What a pity," said Duck. "It could have been a good game too." "Old Bear," said Little Bear thoughtfully, "if we all hide again, could you look for us?" Old Bear said that was a good idea, and with his paws over his eyes, he slowly counted to 10. 1, 2, 3, he began, as Rabbit jumped into a vase and tried to look like a bunch of flowers. 4, 5, 6, he continued, as Duck jumped into a shoebox. 7, 8, 9, he said, giving Bramwell time to hide the last bit of paw. 10, he called. "I'm ready." And by then Little Bear had also disappeared. Old Bear looked all around the room to see whether any paws or ears were showing. It wasn't very tidy. Firstly, he found a sock that he'd lost weeks ago, and then he found at least 10 marbles that had rolled underneath things. He even found Cat, who wasn't really lost or hiding, and Cat helped him look for the others. But he couldn't find them. "It's no good," he sighed. "I can't find any of you. I can only find the things I'm not looking for. Can we tidy up a bit and then start again?" One by one, the other toys wriggled out of their secret hiding places. All of them, that is, except Little Bear. "Where's Little Bear?" asked Bramwell Brown, but nobody seemed to know. "Well, he can't be far away," said Old Bear. "Let's give him a shout." They all climbed up on a chair and called "Little Bear" so loudly that they made themselves jump and almost fell off. Duck prodded all the cushions with his beak to see whether Little Bear was underneath, and Bramwell peered under the bed. "He could be under here," he said. "Well, I'm not going to look," said Duck. "It's dark and dusty." "Oh, I'll go," said Rabbit. "It's just like a tunnel, and I love tunnels." He was just about to dive under the bed when Bramwell grabbed him by the tail. "Wait a minute, Rabbit," he said. "I'll give you the end of this string, and then you won't get lost because we'll all be on the other end." With the string tied around his middle, Rabbit bounded into the darkness. The others waited and watched. Suddenly, the string gave such a jerk that Duck fell on his beak. He's here," squeaked Rabbit. "I'm holding on to him. Can you pull us out?" All together they pulled hard on the string, and out popped Rabbit, tail first, clutching not Little Bear, but a fluffy slipper. "Oh," said Duck, looking down at the slipper. "I don't think that's Little Bear." "Of course it's not," said Bramwell. "He never looked like that." "It felt like Little Bear," said Rabbit. "It's not your fault, Rabbit," said Old Bear kindly. "You were very brave to go in there on your own, and I'm sure Little Bear will turn up soon." "I bet he won't," said Duck, still gazing at his slipper. "He's probably wandered off and is miles away by now." "Rubbish," said Bramwell. "I expect he's just stuck in something. We must keep looking." "I think we should make a poster saying, 'This bear is lost,' with a picture of Little Bear on it," said Old Bear. "Then all the toys will know who we're looking for." The animals all fetched their painting things, and Bramwell sat and painted a picture of a small bear in red trousers that did look quite a bit like Little Bear. There wasn't really enough room to write "This bear is lost," so they just made him look a bit sad and hoped that everyone would know what it meant. Just to make sure, Bramwell called all the other toys together and explained what had happened. They all wanted to help, and within minutes everyone was searching. They rolled up rugs and climbed curtains. They jumped into drawers and turned out toys. They peered behind plants and rummaged through rubbish. They felt as though they'd searched through the whole house, but still there was no sign of Little Bear. Everybody's searching for him. "Phew, I'm tired," said Bramwell Brown. "And I'm hungry," said Duck. "Well," said Old Bear, "everyone has worked very hard, and I think we all deserve our picnic. When we've eaten, we'll start looking again." He led the way to the picnic basket that he'd packed in the morning and lifted the lid. "There," he said proudly. "What do you think of that?" The animals all peered inside, but what they saw was not what they had expected to see. There, lying tucked up under a tea-cloth, fast asleep and looking very full, was Little Bear. "Well, well," gasped Bramwell Brown. We seem to have found a bear and lost a picnic," said Duck, staring at the crumbs that covered Little Bear. "It's a good thing I made too much then," said Old Bear. "There's still plenty left for us." Bramwell Brown lifted Little Bear out of the basket and gave him a big hug. "Come on, everyone," he called. "Picnic time." Carefully, they dragged the basket bumpety-bump down the stairs and out into the garden. "This looks like a good place for a picnic," said Old Bear, spreading the cloth out under a tree. They had a wonderful feast, finishing every crumb in the basket. Then they stretched out in the sun to rest. "I know," said Little Bear, suddenly leaping to his feet. "Let's have another game of hide and seek." But there was no reply. Leaning against the tree and full of food, all the other toys were fast asleep. Okay, that is the end of my reading you to sleep video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some nice tingles and some nice relaxation, and hopefully you're in a sleepy mood now. Thank you so much for watching.